What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about 4 reasons I'm very excited for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So these are just some of the things that stick out. You know, we got less than 2 weeks left, and every day I get a little bit more excited. So this just kind of being a medium to, put it out there and see what you guys are specifically excited about in this game. So let's go through it. Number 1, I guess no particular order. This isn't like a ranking or anything. But number 1 is to see these characters again. So, look, a lot of this is probably going to be based off of me playing Remake about a month and a half ago. I played it back in 2020 when it first came out, but replaying it, kind of just re-entering the world, brings up, feelings I had 4 years ago, but also kind of new ones as well. So just to see these characters again, I think is going to be really special. It's something that, I always knew about Final Fantasy VII, and again, 4 years ago, but also a month ago saying, wow, everybody's so good in this game, right? And really kind of looking at that. Like, I tried to really look at these characters a little bit more critically when I replayed it, and everybody is just so good. Like, the acting itself is extremely good. The lines, the delivery, but just to have, like an Aerith and Tifa and Yuffie and Barrett, like, the good characters actually don't really end. Obviously, you have the cast expanding, so you already had, I would say, a pretty deep, character list, right, where there really wasn't any weak links, and you bring in Yuffie with the DLC, and now, being almost, I don't know if you want to call her main character, but probably, right, being in it a fair amount. You have characters like Cid and Vincent and Zack and Sephiroth in it more, right, so just, it's very, very exciting, or it's gonna be exciting, I think, to see all these characters again. Number 2 is the combat, something that, again, I remembered liking, but this really, I think, stands out upon playing it again. Playing the demo of Rebirth really makes me feel like, okay, they kept, what made it really good, foundational, and then they also added quite a bit to it where it just feels more fluid than ever before. And yeah, we only got to play, combat-wise, not that much, right, in the Rebirth demo. But, if Cloud can maintain that, for the majority, but then also thinking about the combat with the rest of the characters, like, Aerith is really, really fun to play as, in my opinion, in Remake. Barrett. Tifa's really good. I've actually said this before. Tifa, I just, don't really get her style. I love her abilities, like dive kick and things that are, stagger enemies a little bit easier. I think her abilities are elite. But I don't know, in terms of the playable characters, she's probably my least favorite just because of her basic attacks. But the combat in Remake is so good. And most of the characters are really good. When you bring in Yuffie with the DLC, she's really, really fun. And then you see these increased, or additional, I should say, right, just new abilities and moves that these people have, right, in the next game. And then to imagine, okay, Aerith was a blast to play as, so what's she going to play as, or play like in this game? I get really excited. And to be honest with you, combat is going to most likely be what we're doing most of the time, right? Maybe 50, 60, 70% of Rebirth is going to be fighting, especially with a bigger world. Now, yes, there's loads of different mini games and that stuff I'm excited for as well, right? But there's going to be lots of quests, main quests, side quests, and you imagine a lot of fights. The boss fights, too, that's something I completely didn't really look at or examine all that much when I first played Remake. The boss fights are awesome. They really, really are. Whether it be like Sephiroth at the end or even just like casual, bosses they throw in the middle of these levels, the bosses are really, really cool in Remake and in Yuffie's DLC. So I'm really excited to see that as well. Number 3 is the story and the changes. Now, I want to save the ending for number 4 here, but I am excited to see, the story play out. I've talked about this before, but, I played Remake, and when I played Remake the first time, I never played 7. I knew the big twist, but I had never, played the entire game. So I didn't really know. In fact, I didn't know at all the story. Since then, I've played Crisis Core, I've, replayed Remake, but also I have looked at the entirety of the story of 7 and the lore and story explained videos and all that stuff. So I'm not saying I'm elite in terms of knowledge of Final Fantasy 7 all of a sudden, but I know my stuff way, way more than I did going into Remake, and I did that purposely so I could see what Rebirth changes. And I guess I should throw this in, right? How it takes what has been done and, moves it into current day. So not just, I guess, the changes, but just also how do you tell the story, much like you did with Remake, right? How do you tell a story in 97 in the way that was presented? How do you do that now? I feel like that's a good way of me approaching it, or like I feel good about it. And it makes me more excited because I'm really excited to see the story. But now I guess with the added knowledge of, okay, well, now I know what the story is, right? And maybe in some ways that would be a negative. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be many people that play this for the first time or played Remake, played Rebirth, and they never played the original. I think that's fine too, and you might actually get more out of it that way. I'm not honestly sure. But I am excited to see the story, and then, like I said, the changes that they end up doing. And that brings us to point number 4, which is the ending. So how do you address certain big decisions? And there's one in particular that you did in 7, and this game ends with it, this specific game, Rebirth. Are you going to change it? So honestly, the talk, amongst the town here is that, when you go on interviews, you look at any of these websites or videos or whatever, a lot of talk, a lot of questions to the creative team of Rebirth has been the ending and, the big thing that's, I don't want to spoil it just in case, like maybe this is the first time you've watched, right? Or you haven't played the original 7. What do you do with that thing? And every day, I get more and more kind of worried, like scared, but I think it's going to make the journey feel stronger. And that, I guess, is where knowledge of 7 maybe comes in. Like, you might be absolutely shocked, and that is its own thing, right? But then also, if you know it's gonna happen, specifically with these big moments, and if they alter them literally in any way, well, number one, I'm sure you're gonna have quite the, community chat online. I'm sure people are gonna have their things to say, but also, like, I don't know, you just have that knowledge, right? So you're kind of prepared for something, and then they might twist it on you. So it actually might be more surprising, in that specific way, if you have that knowledge and they kind of turn it on its head, versus if you don't know at all, and then they just kind of give it to you, right? Because you might be able to see it coming or whatever. So specifically the ending, but like I said, story changes in general. There's plenty of things in Remake, specifically with those whispers, right? They're always present. They're always messing things up, and and like I know now, right? Now that I have more knowledge and I'm aware, and now I'll hopefully be able to spot out these changes a little bit better. Whenever you see these whispers, in Rebirth, in any cutscene at any point, you're like, oh, dear God, right? Like fate is being changed, or, destiny, it's taken a hard left. So I'm excited. I'm very, very excited to see what they do with changes in general. But obviously the ending, I think, is going to be the talk of the town. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.